Many Democrats are hoping the party will replace President Biden and get some young blood in the race, prompting one contender to get a transfusion from local orphans.
Has not had a good night's sleep for years. I mean, that's why he aged so badly.
Yeah.
You know, like, a lot of people don't know this. Bill Clinton is only 37 years old. A lot of people don't know that. But she's just evil. Like, there's nothing like her.
Why would she even tweet that? Like, don't you have
I think she just sits around in her evil lair whenever she runs out of Eye of Newt and Small Children to Boil. Oh. She then goes to X and just says whatever.
For years, Hillary Clinton has clung to the hope of transforming political defeat into a triumphant comeback. But Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus cut through that illusion with razor-sharp precision. They dismantle the endless excuses, the blame shifting, and the carefully crafted myth of her inevitability. What remains isn't the trailblazing icon some imagined, but a stark portrait of entitlement, a political figure who couldn't seal the deal. Gutfeld and Tyrus reveal that Hillary's narrative isn't one of groundbreaking victory, but of a failure shrouded in denial, desperately clinging to relevance long past its expiration.
Voters said any Republican would be better than President Biden, prompting one woman to legally change her name to N.E. Republican.
Every time she talks, you kind of get why Bill did what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, again, I don't condone, cheating, but that's your morning.
Yeah.
You gotta kiss that before you go to bed at night, and then you gotta sleep with one eye open.
Yeah.
Because your buddy Epstein didn't.
Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus waste no time dismantling Hillary Clinton, and watching them is like witnessing two demolition experts bring down a structure that's been teetering for decades. Hillary isn't just a politician. She's the embodiment of elite entitlement, the face of failure wrapped in the illusion of inevitability. Every so-called strength she's had, somehow she turned it into a weakness. If politics had a blooper reel, her career would be the uncut, extended version, packed with cringeworthy moments, missteps, and a hard truth. She's a living testament to how not to seize an opportunity.
That's good.
This might be, in my opinion, the worst thing she's ever said, because we know New York City subways. Kids don't take the subway.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you do, you're like, whose kid is that?
Yeah, there are men on there who set fire to women, but she's pretending that the people that are trying to reduce crime, that are doing it for themselves, because she's only used to doing things for herself.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more content. Hillary Clinton has spent her entire life believing she was destined for greatness, convinced that history had already inked her name at the top of the list. But as Gutfeld reminds us, destiny has a wicked sense of humor, and it thrives on irony. Here's a woman with every possible advantage: wealth, influential connections, media favoritism, and a husband who was a political deal-maker of the highest order. Yet, despite all of this, she still managed to fumble the biggest political layup in American history. Losing to Donald Trump in 2016 wasn't just a defeat, it was a catastrophic blow to her credibility, an event so devastating that it might as well have been a natural disaster. Gutfeld and Tyrus tear into her failed campaign slogan, pointing out that "because I said so" would have been just as effective as the one she actually ran with. A political misfire so big, even the most perfect storm wouldn't have been enough to excuse it.
So, Aaron, that was Hillary at a talk in Manhattan earlier this month. When Martha, is that her name? Margaret Hoover asked her that question about what do you have, it was a beautiful dig. Did you see Hillary? Like, what advice would you give to the first woman president? And it's like, it's not you, Hillary. It's not you. Whoopsie poopsie, Hillary.
Greg, in particular, doesn't give Hillary an inch. He nails her as the queen of pretending to be relatable, a textbook example of how to fake authenticity. Remember the infamous hot sauce in her bag moment? That wasn't authenticity, it was market research gone terribly wrong. The more she tried to convince us she was just like any ordinary woman, the more it became clear that she hasn't had a real connection to everyday life since stepping foot in Yale Law School. It's not that Hillary is unaware of the struggles that everyday Americans face, it's that she simply doesn't care to understand them. Her entire perspective is rooted in a sense of entitlement, a belief that power is her birthright and that the world should bend to her will. It's a reality where the only thing that matters is the pursuit of power, and everyone else is just an afterthought.
Hillary Clinton argues Joe should be, quote, direct and forceful, end quote, against Trump in the CNN debate. Yeah, direct and forceful, just like the noose I put around Epstein's neck. If I did it.
Gutfeld brilliantly compares Hillary to that one coworker who keeps showing up to meetings despite being fired 3 times. No matter how often the public rejects her, she always finds a way to crawl back into the spotlight, whether it's with a new book, a fresh podcast, or a surprise Netflix cameo. It's like she's the political equivalent of someone who refuses to accept that the show is over and the audience has already left. While the rest of us have moved on, Hillary insists on demanding an encore, one no one asked for. Her persistence is less about relevance and more about a refusal to let go of a spotlight that's long since faded.
Oh, no.
She's back like a sore on a porn star's lip.
Ew.
Complaining on X about Trump cleaning up D.C., she says, quote, on one hand, Republican officials call themselves war fighters. On the other, they become whiny
Let's talk about Hillary's endless excuses. According to her, her loss in 2016 wasn't because she was a lackluster candidate with no real message. Oh no, it was the FBI, the Russians, sexism, Bernie Sanders, voter suppression, and perhaps even the weather. If a dog barked too loudly in Wisconsin, you can bet she'd blame that too. Gutfeld and Tyrus call out this relentless blame game, making it clear that it's become the hallmark of Hillary's political legacy. She's the first politician in history to lose an election and then spend the next decade auditioning for the role of the world's greatest victim. But it doesn't stop there. Her career has been nothing more than a revolving door of failure and reinvention. When her healthcare plan collapsed in the 90s, she rebranded herself as a tough senator. After her loss to Barack Obama in 2008, she became a global diplomat. And when she lost to Donald Trump, she reinvented herself yet again as a feminist icon. It's the same tired play on repeat. Package failure as empowerment, sell it to the media, and hope people forget the actual record. This constant reshuffling is a desperate attempt to rewrite history, but the truth keeps slipping through.
Joe Biden has advanced prostate cancer. I'm sure the announcement had nothing to do with the recently released Her audio and the bombshell book about his cognitive decline. Just like I think how Yoko Ono had nothing to do with the Beatles breaking up. Yeah, and that rash I got had nothing to do with my weekend at the Mustang Ranch. After hearing the news of Biden's cancer, Hillary Clinton posted, quote, wishing you a speedy recovery and let me know.
But people haven't forgotten the lasting impact of Hillary's disastrous decisions, like her role in Libya. Her gleeful cackling over Gaddafi's violent downfall now echoes as the soundtrack to a nation torn apart. She's also the architect of the so-called Russian reset, a foreign policy blunder that soured faster than a carton of milk the moment Putin decided to embrace his inner supervillain. Gutfeld and Tyrus paint her foreign policy record not as seasoned diplomacy, but as a series of reckless experiments that left the world more unstable. What's truly devastating in their takedown is how they depict Hillary's obsession with rewriting history, as if she could force her legacy into existence, like someone desperately editing their own Wikipedia page. But history doesn't work that way. The harder she tries to script her place in it, the further it slips from her grasp. Rather than becoming the first female president, she became the first female candidate to show that simply being female isn't enough. Instead of rising as a feminist icon, She became the ultimate cautionary tale, proof that entitlement and ambition don't always translate into victory.
Says no classified information was involved. There's still no word if they'll return to Joe Biden's preferred form of communication. Hillary Clinton weighed in on the Signal story, saying, "You gotta be kidding."
Greg especially relishes the irony in Hillary's journey. She was supposed to shatter the glass ceiling, but instead, she became the woman who tripped over the step stool while trying to reach it. Rather than inspiring a movement, she sparked a backlash. Every time she spoke about inevitability, voters ran in the other direction. Every time she demanded loyalty, people couldn't help but ask, why does she deserve it? Hillary wasn't the leader the country craved. She was the lecture no one asked for. Gutfeld sharpens the edge of his critique, pointing out how Hillary's political rise has always been built on the failures of others. She soared in the shadow of Bill, leveraging his scandals for sympathy and riding his connections to gain power. She tried to hitch a ride on Barack Obama's coattails, hoping to inherit his mantle, only to realize that his charisma only served to spotlight her glaring flaws. And when she finally faced off against Donald Trump, her overwhelming belief that the universe owed her the presidency led her to overlook the one thing that mattered, winning over voters. Tyrus drives the point home even further, arguing that Hillary Clinton isn't a true leader, she's a brand, and a tired one at that. Her speeches, books, and endless media appearances all push the same worn-out product, the myth of Hillary as the unfulfilled promise of history. But like an overhyped product, it never delivers. It's like buying a box labeled Revolutionary Change only to open it and find nothing inside. Da used copy of her memoir.
Been the only member of The View not vaccinated for canine distemper. Kick things off by asking Hillary what will happen if Trump is reelected, which is odd because Hillary's an expert on not getting elected. I wonder, does she think it would end our country as we know it?
I think it would be the end of our country as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I hated losing. And I especially hated losing to him because I had seen so many warning signals.
By the time Gutfeld and Tyrus finish dismantling her, the picture becomes painfully clear. Hillary Clinton will never be remembered as the president who wasn't. She'll be remembered as the politician who had every tool, every advantage, every opportunity, and still somehow managed to lose the unlosable. She stands as the embodiment of political arrogance crashing headfirst into the harsh reality of voters who refuse to be told what to think. Her legacy isn't one of greatness. It's a failure dressed in self-pity, a story of missed chances and misguided certainty. Her impact? Not progress, but a cautionary tale of what happens when entitlement, arrogance, and a relentless stream of excuses replace true leadership. Today, her relevance isn't built on power, it's driven by desperation. Gutfeld and Tyrus don't just roast Hillary, they expose her for what she truly is, not the trailblazer she pretends to be, but a stark reminder that relying on privilege and excuses only leads to irrelevance. This is where the Hillary myth collapses under its own weight. Every attempt to rewrite her narrative only serves to shine a spotlight on the failures she's tried to bury. She's like a magician who keeps pulling the same rabbit out of the same hat, except the rabbit is tired, mangy, and half the audience has already walked out. Gutfeld and Tyrus don't even need to exaggerate. Hillary's own track record is the punchline.
Air is designed specifically to prioritize dogs. The problem is they all want to fly with their heads out the window. Adorable, but dead. In Washington, D.C., the giant grocery chain has announced a ban on large bags. Great, now where will I shop? Complains one large bag.
Hillary Clinton wanted to be remembered as a historic trailblazer, but instead, she's etched into history as the politician who had every possible advantage, name recognition, money, media fawning, and institutional backing, and still managed to lose to Donald Trump, a man the media swore had no chance. That's not bad luck. It's a colossal, self-inflicted wound. When history writes the story, Hillary won't be the first female president. She'll be the cautionary tale, the warning label slapped on the establishment. But she refuses to accept it. She clings to the stage, delivering speeches about democracy while cashing checks from the very people who profit from undermining it. It's hypocrisy on full display, practically begging for a roasting. Tyrus points out how Hillary has reinvented herself a dozen times, champion of women, defender of the middle class, advocate for global unity. Yet, with every new version, the mask slips faster than the last. No amount of reinvention can obscure the one glaring truth. Voters didn't trust her, and they still don't. That's the real wound. Hillary spent decades demanding loyalty from voters while offering nothing but condescension in return. It wasn't that America wasn't ready for a woman president. It was that they weren't ready for her.
Signals that you were gonna lose? Well, too bad you didn't bother to visit the states you ended up losing, you potato-shaped wine bag. But would he even be worse now?
I think that he'd be even worse now because he was somewhat restrained, believe it or not, in the first term by people who he hired because he thought they would go along.
Hillary lost because America grew tired of being lectured by someone who believed she was too important to ever be questioned. She was supposed to be inevitable, but as Gutfeld reminds us, inevitability crumbles the moment it faces reality. He hammers home the point that Hillary's legacy isn't one of empowerment, it's one of entitlement. She expected the presidency to be handed to her just like everything else in her career, opportunities she didn't earn, positions she occupied only due to her proximity to power. The real tragedy of her story isn't just that she failed, it's that she never understood why. In her mind, losing is always someone else's fault. The press, the voters, the Russians, even the weather, take your pick. But never Hillary. That excuse machine worked for a while, but it doesn't hold water anymore. The more she talks, the more it becomes clear. She's not a victim of circumstance. She's the architect of her own downfall. Now, the only relevance she has left comes from being roasted, dissected, and exposed for what she truly is. Gutfeld and Tyrus aren't tearing down a political giant, they're kicking down a cardboard cutout propped up by years of media nostalgia. The more the spotlight shines, the more the illusion fades, revealing a leader who wasn't ready for the job and a narrative that was never as powerful as she thought.
In an inner circle in hell where you are doomed to defend the biggest screw-up of your life. That's where you'll find Hillary.
I won the places that represent 2/3 of America's gross domestic product. So I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward, and his whole campaign, Make America Great Again.
What makes Gutfeld and Tyrus's takedown of Hillary so satisfying isn't just that it's brutal, it's that it's honest. Hillary built herself into a monument of inevitability, one that was supposed to tower over history. But when that monument crumbled, instead of accepting reality, she tried to sell the rubble as progress. But no one's buying that anymore. Her story isn't about shattering glass ceilings, it's about how far someone can fall when arrogance replaces authenticity. The truth becomes undeniable. Hillary's place in history won't be as the first female president or as a respected leader who almost made it. Her legacy is cemented as the political cautionary tale of an era, one that epitomizes elitism, entitlement, and everything voters rebelled against. And Gutfeld and Tyrus make sure this cautionary tale is written in permanent ink. Hillary didn't just lose an election, she lost her place in history. What was supposed to be her crowning achievement, her moment of triumph, became the defining moment of her downfall. No matter how many polished speeches she gives, how many carefully crafted excuses she spins, or how many staged comebacks she attempts, the truth is unshakable. The world watched it all unfold in real time. She isn't destiny denied, she's destiny dodged, and that makes the collapse even more excruciating. Each time she tries to reframe her narrative, she only highlights how she failed to seal the deal when it mattered most. And here's the punchline. The more she insists she's still relevant, the louder the world laughs at the contradiction. This isn't history in the making. It's self-parody, desperately pretending to be gravitas. Thanks to Gutfeld and Tyrus, the joke doesn't just land, it lands with surgical precision, ensuring Hillary's myth collapses under the weight of her own performance.